Hey YouTube, welcome back to Dwayne's World. So in today's video, we're finally going to do it. We're finally going to replace the gas tank on Joel's 25-inch Mclane. You want to find out how difficult it is? You better stay tuned. So the reason why you're seeing this mower today on my channel is I'm going to go ahead and replace the gas tank for Joel. The gas tank on here leaks really bad. So in order to get this mower up and running the way it should be, and even to do anything else as it relates to the carburetor or anything else that may be wrong with the motor, we got to fix the gas tank first. So that's what I'm going to feature on my channel. Let me take you in for a little bit of a closer look to show you guys where it's leaking. So as you guys can see here, there's a couple of areas where it looks like somebody had tried to repair the gas tank. So we're going to go ahead and replace the gas tank, but at the same time, I always recommend just replacing a plastic tank. Don't try to fix it. You can pick them up for fairly inexpensive prices these days, especially with the aftermarket. Now, you'll have to do your research on which aftermarket gas tank would be best, but at the same time, I don't think it's worth the headache of trying to fix it when you can absolutely get a replacement that's available online. All right, so this is actually the first time I've ever done any type of work on a Briggs and Stratton Intek motor. Now, the gas tank replacement should be straightforward for the most part. Most gas tanks are just held on with a couple of different bolts. Now, sometimes the bolts are a little more hidden and harder to find, and that's really probably going to be the hardest part of this particular removal and installation, is just finding where the bolts are. I can tell you that more than likely there's going to be a couple of bolts behind this plate here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the throttle cable along with that bolt there. In addition, so now that I got these two bolts off, there's also one more bolt on the opposite side of the motor here, which I'm going to go ahead and take off as well. Just to speed it up, I went ahead and grabbed my impact tool just to make it a little faster to remove these screws. And there we go. Okay, so now that I got all three screws off, I'm going to go ahead and just release my throttle cable here. Just kind of fishing it through the lever there. Okay, so now that's off. Now this should pretty much just come off, yep. And I may need to just move the throttle cable just to more centered. Yep. There we go. And those are the two bolts that I'm looking for. So it looks like there's 4 bolts that connect the gas tank to the motor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these two here. They're each 10 millimeter. There's one out there. One out there. Okay, and I'm going to come around to the other side and get the other two. All right, so now that I got all 4 bolts off, now I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I can lift the gas tank. And as you can see there, yep, it comes off. All right, so if you look at the bottom of the tank here, you'll notice there's a fuel line, and it's attached to the bottom of the gas tank that's held with these clips here. Now, this looks like it's a little bit of a Y connection, which gives you your gas turnoff. I'm not going to need to remove both clamps. I'm just going to need to remove the one there, and I'll be able to get my gas tank off. So all I'm going to do is use a pair of pliers here, and I'm basically just going to release the clip there. And then I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver here. And actually, I don't even know if I necessarily need that. It's pretty loose, to be honest with you. And it came right off. Simple enough. All right, so what you're looking at here is the replacement gas tank. The only thing that looks a little bit different is the actual gas cap. I also realized, too, when I kind of looked at the inside of it, there's this little foam filter that the other one does not have. So I thought that was a little bit unique, but at the same time, it looks like it's going to fit exactly how the OEM one fit. Again, this was an aftermarket one. We'll see how well it holds up, but at the same time, it's absolutely going to work better than that leaking gas tank. So let's go ahead and install that. All right, so just kind of starting like in reverse order, I'm going to go ahead and install the fuel line and get that assembled here. So once I got it pressed on, which I do there, I'm going to go ahead and just turn it upside down for you. And then I'm going to go ahead and re-secure the clamp as well. So now I'm going to just use my pliers here and just reposition the clamp exactly where it was. Perfect. Looks like it's on there good and tight. So now we can just go ahead and affix it back into the same location and be good to go. All right, so one thing I just wanted to point out, originally when I had it sat on the gas tank, I had it like this. That's incorrect. You want to make sure that the actual gas tank and the bracket sits behind the plastic. And that's so your bolts, when you go to install them, will fit properly, because there is a little spacer on the bottom of the bolts. I don't know if you guys can see that there, but that is going to need to be installed here. And you want to make sure you do the same thing on the opposite side, so that way you'll make sure you properly install your bolts and everything goes together the way it's supposed to. All right, and with that, we're going to go ahead and cinch these bolts down. All right, so all our bolts are now cinched down. All right, so all that's left now is to go ahead and reinstall our cover. Okay, now that I got the bolts just started, I'm going to go ahead and just install my throttle cable, just so I can get that going. Sometimes it's just easier to do things without gloves. All right, so now I got those loosely fitted. I'm going to go ahead and just tighten them down now. All right, so one of the things that my buddy did say, that he did prefer the look of the older gas cap. So I'm going to go ahead and just reinstall that there. They both fit, which is nice. So with that, we are good to go. This is the older style. It looks a little more clunky. Likes the streamlined design of that one. So we're going to go ahead and go with that. All right, so I want to give you guys a quick update here on the front lawn. It's been about 8 days since I threw down that second batch of perennial rye seed here on my Bermuda. And as you can see, a lot of the lawn has definitely filled in. There's a couple of areas that are a little more bare than others, such as underneath the tree there. And in that area, I did lay down quite a bit of topper, and it was really meant to just hold that seed in place, because I would get a little bit of runoff there. So I'm optimistic that that area will eventually fill in. However, if it doesn't, I'll just go ahead and throw down some more seed. I'm looking at probably another week before I get into mow. But at the same time, definitely happy with these results. All right, so now that we got the gas tank replaced, no fuel leaks, exactly what we wanted. But, yes, there's always a but. There's a different problem. And a problem I didn't suspect earlier on. I thought maybe this would also be an issue, but because of the fact with the old gas tank, we could never run the mower long enough to even really verify one way or the other if this was an issue or how big it was. And it has to do with the carburetor. And it's not an uncommon issue. And most of the time when I've purchased mowers secondhand, I've always had to replace the carburetor. And I always choose to replace in most cases versus clean, just because of the cost. The only time I would not replace generally is if an OEM carburetor was the only option and they were very expensive to replace. And in those cases, it probably makes more sense from a dollars and cents standpoint to go ahead and just clean it out and disassemble it and reassemble it and get your mower running the way it should. But because there are so many aftermarket carburetors that you can find these days, as long as you do your research and you look at your reviews, you can find a decent aftermarket one to be able to slap on your mower and have good success. I've done that with a lot of the mowers that I own, you know, everything from my Honda GX motors to the Kawasaki motor that's on my Greensmaster, you know, to Briggs motors. So this is not an uncommon practice for me, and I've had good success with it. So at the same time, to each their own. You may have a difference of opinion on it and choose to only want to go with OEM parts, which is 100% okay if that's what you prefer to do. In this particular case though, I think Joel's going to order up a new carburetor so we can replace that and to be able to get this mower running really the way it should. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It's always fun kind of putting together a little bit of these repair videos for you. I hope you guys found the information useful, and as always, be excellent and party on.